me. Yes. You thought I was out back with the porcupines, but I'm not. I'm here. Hello, Facebook. Hello, we got our first person. You guys on Instagram, you have some fancy names going. Some of them are like Shelly Cannon. That's like I can deal with that. Budafield, I can read that, but then there are the long, difficult ones, like and I can't read those at all. Oh, look on Facebook, it says the live video is starting, going around and around. How are you, everybody? I cannot see the peoples. They'll be here soon. I don't know. I may ask for some support on the Facebook side. I'm just waiting to get things started. Hello, Studio 200 Glass. See, hello. Hi, Jonathan. I love you too. Carol is here, and Hella Parch and Zaina. I can't see on the Facebook. Are they on the Facebook yet?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see their names. That's just too bad. But I love you very much, and we're all here together. So why don't we get started? All right. Today we have a very special event on the Gathering Room. Those of you who were here from the very beginning, when I was broadcasting out of a ranch in California that had very iffy internet and also a lot of like turkeys going by and whatnot, wild turkeys. The person who founded this establishment in the air with me is my partner in life and work, Rowan Mangan. What?
Crime.
Partner in life, work, and crime. The Rowan Mangan, also known as the Gracious Badger. Now, the Gracious Badger, and you'll see why she's Gracious Badger in just a moment if you don't know of her, did go away at a certain point, not away from me, but away from the camera, because she produced a micro badger who at this moment has learned to walk this week and is now wandering around our house going, ah! with great excitement. So that leaves Ro to let the kid go out and get a job and come and be on the Gathering Room with me. And it's especially exciting because today on Maria Shriver's Sunday Paper, which is a newsletter that you should really subscribe to. Maria fills it with tons of great content. It's awesome. I write for it. Ro writes for it. And Ro's article today is called How to Have a Wild Adventure. And this is something that Ro thought of by herself. And in my life coaching way, I was like, damn, I wish I'd thought of that. So the least I can do is pass it on to y'all secondhand. And I have the originator here herself. Come on in, Gracious Badger, Rowan Mangan.
Hi, friends.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm so good. Oh, hi, all the people.
Aren't they wonderful?
Oh, they're lovely.
How come we can't? It says that on Facebook.
They're there. I know you're there.
Ro is always behind the scenes going, the interweb is a series of tubes. The people are there.
And some of them talk to me. Even when I'm not on the screen, they say hi, Ro, because they know.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about wild adventures because it's a wonderful idea. It inspired me. I think it'll inspire you. And it started out, the idea came to this one because she's been a very adventurous person her whole life. Like,
yeah,
had serious adventures.
Not famous for standing still.
Do you want to? She doesn't like to brag on her own adventures, but she's had some cool adventures. Like getting up in the morning in Dublin in some youth hostel, going out, putting her guitar case on the ground, and busking, singing away until she had enough Irish money to go buy some food at the local pub.
Shekels.
To buy Irish food.
Yeah. Galway.
You were an Irish barmaid, yes?
Yeah, I was buxom and all.
An Australian Irish barmaid.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And then, went skiing in Kyrgyzstan just to see what it was like. Not good. Don't do it. Sorry.
I'm spoiler.
I'm sorry and all our Kyrgyzstan people. We love you so much. If you're skiing in Kyrgyzstan right now, I admire you deeply because apparently they don't have lifts at all.
They do. Anyway. It's another. It's not important.
You have to grab a cow by the ear and it walks up. No,
that's true.
Anyway,
if you're lucky, you get to get it by the ear.
Going, all night on the third-class train in India, which is basically where you have to fight the rats like a boxer through the whole thing. Yeah, adventures.
Yeah. had some adventures.
And then
I met you.
yeah, well that
Slowed me down.
yeah, just a bit. Then the micro badger.
Micro badger slowed me down a lot. And then
There
was like
You
some
might
kind
have
of
heard.
pandemic type thing.
little virus thing happened.
Yeah, and I was like severely trapped in the house by so many things. And so one day, Marty, I was sitting on the floor.
That's
Of our-
that's where I let her sit. Sorry.
If I'm good.
It's better than the backyard.
Sitting on the floor with the baby. She was very small. She was just, still doing this, not much else. Not
That's
that, like
me or the baby.
both of you together.
I don't do much else. Go on.
Anyway, and it was all, I can't go out. And I finally realized, where can you go when you can't go out?
In. So,
And that was the beginning of the Wild Adventures.
and one of the things I love about this is that in that inimitable life coachy way that you cannot help catching from me,
It's true.
the whole process breaks down into these 3 parts that are very elegantly based on the word adventure. Tell them how it
It's
works.
all built in like little Russian dolls, You've got, this is how you have adventures. And let me back up.
Yes, please.
So the idea of Wild Adventures is to kind of reframe how we think about dreaming of the kind of life we want to have. And so,
Cool.
What I found, even with all my, wanderings of the world, once I actually started thinking about this stuck inside pandemic baby, I realized that even those, I was still borrowing from a kind of cultural template. I thought I was Woody Guthrie or something. Like I was in songs and, there's still a kind of romance and a kind of cultural template that I was taking from out and putting onto my life.
Yeah, because let's face it, saying you went skiing in Kyrgyzstan or a third class train in India, it sounds really countercultural, but it's also kind of cool and you can brag about it later.
No one goes to Kyrgyzstan for any reason except so that they can later say, I've been to Kyrgyzstan. That's literally the only reason. Even the Kyrgyz people, they're just like,
How do you
hey,
get out?
I'm from there. So,
but it's like when I was in high school, all the nonconformists, they all dressed alike. Like they dressed different from the other kids, but they all made sure they had the same eye makeup and everything and the same machine parts for jewelry. So in a way, they were just conforming with another subculture.
yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it's kind of an exciting thing to go, okay, so if I didn't have any of those overlays that I was importing, if you like, what would be actually mine? What would I dream of doing without all of that? And so I started within because can't go out. And then from what you want.
No. I was going to ask you about it, but I want you to set out the 3 parts first because they're cool.
Yeah. All right. So the 3 parts: invent, venture.
Invent, venture.
So you go in, and the idea is that you're trying to get deep enough into yourself that you're not still working on programming that's coming from the culture. And this is something that we talk about in our podcast, Bewildered, quite a lot too. So it's a similar idea that what's beneath that? What was there before you started figuring out what you should want, what you should.
What's going to be cool or what's going to be acceptable or what's going to be nice, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you do that going in?
It's a little thing called meditation.
Never heard of it.
No, it's there's a lot of different ways you can look at that process, and I think a lot of people will have their own ways to go in. It's about trying to get past language and all that sort of thing. So for me, one of the techniques that I wrote about in the Sunday paper article is about starting with the statement I am row, and then what are some of the things I am, and this is a sort of like meditating your way deeper into
so what
are you at deeper levels. So I'm Ro, I'm a writer, I'm Lila's mother, I'm Marty's wife, I'm and I'm coming down to I'm I think I'm a kind person. I'm trying my hardest. And then at a certain point, what I've found, your mileage may vary, but what I found is that there's more and more silence as you kind of start to strip off these layers of identity. And eventually you'll come down to a point where all the things that you are kind of, they're waiting. You can come back to them, but there's just an I am that is deeper than any of that. And so
I am.
I am. And that's when you're in the adventure.
Oh, wait, I want to just give this a moment because I can feel the people going there. And, Rose always saying, please, for God's sake, Marty, don't tell them to write down a list. But
a list of things I'm going to do
the
today.
way I would write my way through this.
Yeah.
I am this, I
Sure.
have this quality, I have this relationship, I have this interest, and then I have myself. I have this moment. There's actually nothing going on, but I am.
Yeah.
So that right there is a practice that can stoke you for life. But then you go on.
Yeah, well, my idea is that once you are in that silence and in that deep I am place, that's when you can start to invent. And so the idea with invent is, what are some new dreams you can dream? What comes up when you're free of culture and free of all those layers of identity, when you're just still in yourself? What is there? What little dreams, what little kind of morsels of dreaming are going to make their way into your consciousness now that you've made all that space?
I want to go skiing in Turkmenistan.
Whoa, hang on. I think you're onto something there.
Actually, I just went off on a thing because I once was helping a delegation from Turkmenistan enter the theater for the Winter Special Olympics. It was awesome, fun adventure. Back to the topic. Here's the thing. If you are very creative like Ro, then sometimes things will just come up. For me, I have to notice what I notice. So I get into that meditative space where I'm not putting anything on it mentally. And then I start to notice, like, okay, this crystal lying on my desk, somebody brought me this when it was still in a rock, and I chipped it out, and it took a long time, but I was fascinated by the process of it. As I go in now, I just look around at the room where we are, and I notice what I notice, and this immediately said, that's what I'm interested in.
Cool.
And then I thought, well, why? And I realized it was because this was all a big black rock, and I chipped it away. And it's like you're teaching us the process of chiseling away what isn't clear.
Martha Beck, ladies and gents.
And then I'm
you
like,
make me sound so smart.
Oh, so where does that take me? What wants to happen next? What do I want to do with that idea? Or it could be for me, it would be a writing idea, a painting idea. For you, it might be a travel idea, language learning, whatever, right?
Yeah, that usually feels like play. If it's an adventure, because the thing with adventure is like adventure. It's meant to it's not like, now it's time to make dinner, let's make sure that there's peas. Like we all think, we say that every day.
Let's make sure
again
that peas. We've literally never had peas.
Adventures in peas.
Adventures in peas. Okay. Then
no idea what I was talking about.
Venture.
Yeah.
So you've invented something.
So come up with what comes up in the silence and play with it. And then venture is about, it's like Lila walking around, our daughter walking around, and we've just noticed that someone just ate some peas.
For us.
By hand at home. Thank you.
Manifestation. Boom! Magic. Whole different topic.
It's not just me.
It's not just you. It's not just you.
Just...
What does Lila do?
She goes out wandering, and then she comes back. Like, we'll be sitting in one part of the room, and we're just watching her kind of push her way out into the world.
Over to Lambertville and halfway to New York.
Yeah, she gets... Anyway, look. So it's about going out and testing it a little bit, testing the edges. What happens if I try bringing this into my day-to-day life?
Right.
And just the spirit of venturing, pushing edges, but also just,
And you
It's
will
not a
be,
big deal. It's for fun.
but you will be wobbly like a toddler.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she falls down constantly. And because we go, that's great, she doesn't know that that's a problem. So she
It's
just
not a problem.
she just crows and cheers and gets up again. She has not yet learned that to walk, you don't have to have your arms in the victory position. She just walks around like, ah!
she's honestly just like,
She can't believe it. We're the only people she knows. She has no idea that you can go from not like the dogs are on 4, we're on 2. She's never seen anything go from one to the other. It's crazy.
Yeah.
She's venturing like mad.
yeah.
She's venturing into every poisonous or treacherous thing there is in the house because that's what we do, people. We go out and we risk our things. A ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not why ships are built, right? She sailed on tall ships. She sailed on ships like the 19th century ships where she had to climb up the mast and let the sails down and things. Like adventures. Now it's all forced inward, and wow, she's having these fabulous ideas.
I actually feel an adventure coming on right now.
Oh my God.
Because Corey Auld on Instagram
Yes.
has just asked us if we're both looking to adopt a full-grown human man. And you know what? A few minutes ago, it wasn't in my mind, but all of a sudden,
Is
when
it
I
Jon
go
Stewart?
in- I don't know who it is. But I'm getting a weird feeling like something wants me to do this.
All right. Well, I thought we were going to talk about how you're doing this new healthy eating thing, but I think adopting a full
Adopting men.
What if we adopt one against his will?
I think that's
I think that's
Kidnapping.
called kidnapping and imprisonment.
yeah. I think
Damn
that's yeah.
Some of the best adventures have to happen in our imaginations. No, but seriously, you just decided you have what would they call it? A metabolic
Oh yeah, so I've got a medical condition that I've been trying to manage with a really strict diet for nearly a decade, and it's kind of a drag. Anyway, lately
That's why we've never had peas. One pea has more carbohydrates than she's allowed to have in a year.
So I decided adventures in peas.
There we go.
I was like, well, this is true. This isn't a joke. Like all of a sudden I started getting this inkling. Do you guys have this? Like this kind of inkling of I want to eat a kidney bean. Man, I really want to eat one of those.
When
I
got
love
to
them.
the center of myself in meditation, I knew first, God is real. Second, I need a kidney bean.
Legumes. God, it's so hard not to swear. I get so passionate.
She does.
So I'm on this like kind of intuitive eating thing where it's almost like every decision about food is an adventure, and that's after like having what's a very cultural thing is you will eat this, you won't eat
very
that,
strict. Very
and
strict.
there's no flexibility in that. So now I'm having a blast.
Yeah,
kind of
and
going, what do I really want? I can have anything I want, but I have to really want it.
And then you started cooking. Like it's very, very motivating when it's
Yeah.
coming from within
Yes.
instead of without. It's not just like I'm gonna brag to my friends about this. It's like the thing itself is so cool. And yeah, you started it's amazing the
There's a
things
lot
that
of-
you've cooked.
There's energy in
There's
adventure.
energy in it.
Yeah.
So we were thinking of like who else is doing things like this, and one of our family member, brilliant guy, loves games, is really, really good at like holding vast schemes of logic in his imagination. And we were talking to him the other day over Zoom, and he was saying, I think I'm going to play with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin.
And like bringing the kind of creativity and play into crypto stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, capitalism is disintegrating before our eyes, and little bits of money are being thrown off the sides. So I'm going to work it so I can get those bits of money and then give people free housing. That's a very wild adventure. And when you came up with this idea, I was like, what am I going to do? And I decided I have to change the inside of my brain. And I'm not going to talk about this too much because I say it on every gathering room because it's my current project.
Everyone's obsessed with it. Don't worry.
Reconditioning my brain to be less frightened of the things. The things being literally everything I have ever encountered in my life or will ever encounter in my life. So I've been doing special meditations and reading a lot of brain science and going out to have experiences that cause some anxiety so I can bring them down. And because it's an adventure, it's very exciting to me, and I want to write about it, and I want to help people with it, and that it's awesome. So I see you're looking at
I'm trying to do both my jobs, and
she
it's very
usually does the
stressful.
question asking. So usually they come up here. I don't see it.
I know, that's why I'm here on the.
All
Sorry,
right,
guys,
all right.
you're seeing behind the curtain.
Mm.
Lorraine says, when you start to invent after getting down to I am, don't you inevitably have to invent from the culture again? What a cool question. I don't think so.
No.
I think that it's like, all right. I'm gonna call on my colleague, Dr. Martha Beck, to take this one, Lauren.
I would say yes and no. The first thing is that you're going to use the tools of the culture to help you create whatever you want. But what you create from it will be everything's just a reassortment of what it was before. So there are 26 letters in the alphabet, right? I think once I said 24 and I forgot about P because we never eat P. Anyway, P and W, totally forgot them. No, but when you rearrange those letters of the alphabet into a different book, I just read the book Bewilderment by, what's his name? He wrote the Overstory. He's brilliant. Brilliant books. And it's just the same 26 letters. They're just rearranged in a way that I have never seen. And damn, does that man have an imagination. Holy smokes. So when you, like when Ro makes her recipes, like she's inventing recipes. Yesterday she brought broccoli to the table and it was all yellow because she put turmeric in it because turmeric is super good for your body.
It was cauliflower.
It's very, very bilious for cauliflower. It was green, Ro. What else was in there besides turmeric? Irish liqueur. So you're going to use the same ingredients. You're going to use the same alphabet, but what you make will have a spin to it that's different. I remember sitting in a bookstore before I wrote my first book, expecting Adam, and looking around at 50,000 books and going, no one needs another one. This is not an original idea. I'm going to write a book. And yet people still write to me and say, thanks for writing it. I never found quite that same idea in any other book. So yeah, same ingredients, different inside.
Well said.
Thank you. What's another question?
Well, this is a question. Danielle is referring to another adventure that you and I embarked upon in the last 12 months, learning to do Pilates. And we talked about this on our podcast, Bewildered, and Danielle would like to know, how is the yoga going? And Marty's tail.
Yeah, you have to listen to the, I've been outed. I've been so outed here. I don't care if you know I'm gay, if you know I'm weird, if you know I don't know, all the things I am. But I was ashamed at one point to acknowledge that I have a tiny little tail. But it's not like a detached tail. It's not like wiggle waggle tail. It's just a very pronounced tailbone that sticks out and makes it very hard to do Pilates because it's like trying to balance my pelvis on a golf ball and then do exercises on top of that. It is not comfortable and it is not, frankly, possible.
It's really funny to watch, though.
But it's her wild adventure to just put me on that golf ball and spin me. You know what? It's been going quite well because I got a squishy thing, a squishy rug, and put it under my tailbone, and I've been practicing.
This is Marty in Pilates, in case any of you are wondering. What's Martha Beck like in Pilates? I've already done 100, Ray. Should I do some more or should I just stop now? What would you like me to do? Ray, is there any way to make this harder? This is, I just wondering, can I make it any harder at all?
Actually, I just roll around like some kind of child's toy. Okay, let's move on to another thing.
Okay.
But actually, we thought we are so bored and we want exercise. So what can we do? We get our friend Ray. He comes in. We do Pilates. That's an adventure. Yeah.
Of course it is.
Especially when you have a freaking tail. It's not easy. If I had enough of a tail to make it easier, that would be something. I've seen monkeys do things that would make Ray very proud.
Kirsten is saying that she's reading Diana herself right now.
Oh my God.
And that this lines up really beautifully with it. I haven't thought about that, but it does.
It does. Diana herself is a novel I wrote because I was like wandering in the woods of California. I thought I would never publish another book again. I was really tired of the self-help thing and the publishing industry in general. And I was like just wandering around in the woods. And then I found the tracks of a wild boar. and began to track it and developed kind of a relationship with it. And then it sort of turned into a book, a novel about a woman who, you'll never guess, is wandering around in the woods of California and comes across a wild boar. So, yeah, and she goes through the same experience, because this basically is what the Gathering Room is about, right? It's about ways of waking up and having a wild adventure, aside from like passing the time and sharpening your skills as a human and giving you fun things to talk about with each other. This is one way to wake up, not just to go in and be and realize the I am, which is a cosmic force, you know, the consciousness of the universe, but to say, in this little monkey, myself, what does consciousness with a capital C wish to invent and then venture? And really, watching Lila walk, I just thought, you know what? It's the consciousness of God learning to be in a monkey, so that when she grows up, she can learn to be the consciousness of God again. Like it's the divine play of the universe, which is called Leela in Hindi, and that's why we named her Lila.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
do we have any last questions to attack in our wild adventure today?
Donna is wondering how you deal with the fear that you have nothing to invent. There's nothing in you to invent.
Well, do you want to take that?
I think that I am afraid there's nothing in me to invent is one of the layers that you peel back as you go deep down in. And that if you can let it just sit over here on the shelf for a while you go in, you're making all this sort of inner space where all kinds of things can come up. And invent sounds like a very forced cerebral thing, and it's not that. You know, it's what's going to arise.
Well, you know, a vent like an air vent is something that allows things through, and when you invent, it's like you're creating a vent inside yourself for something to blow. They say we are the hole in the flute that God is playing. You open the vent, and the God force is what always creates. But
You're a genius. You're a genius.
We're just sitting in our house together, so she can tell me these things.
Lila means purple in Swedish.
What? Like lilacs.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's amazing. But I did want to say to you, you know, I am afraid is one of the levels that you can peel back. Yeah. There's a whole chunk of adjectives in there. You know, I am sick. You know, if you're not physically well. I am I'm an underachiever. I'm like, all these negative self-concepts are just not another layer of what is not purely natural to you. None of us.
It's culture.
I was reading Oprah's book, What Happened to You. I read the first chapter today, and she talks about how her grandmother used to beat her with a switch, as was common with Black children in the time and place she grew up. And it just broke my heart, because I know her grandmother was probably doing the absolute best she knew. But I thought, here we had this kid in the middle of a pandemic. Not only has she never been spanked, nobody's ever raised their voice to her. Nobody's ever been grouchy to her, right? And she has no fear. She walked straight into this massive like toy apparatus today, tripped, stumbled, tried to grab it. It all smashed to the ground, bells, whistles, and we waited for the scream. No scream.
Oh, well.
She doesn't really have any fear. And I'm wondering, you know, where if you get to, I'm afraid I can't do this. I'm afraid. That's there because of scarring. And one of the things that I always challenge myself to do with my fear is ask it to stand aside for a few minutes. Like, fearful self, will you go stand over there for a minute? And if I can, and you can come right back. But if I can get my fearful or my angry or whatever, if there's a disturbed self, if I can get it to stand over there, then I am not it. We're down below. And the I am that is final it actually is so peaceful. Emotion means movement. There's no movement in it, as Rose said. It's very still. But it's full of a peace and a joy and a creativeness that goes beyond the feelings we usually call happiness and peace and everything. I mean, it's a whole nother level. Yeah. And that's where creation occurs. And that's where you got your idea for Wild Adventures.
That's where it came from. And I will just say, 1, 2, 3 in invent venture. It's the waltz. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just like it's a thing for playing.
Yeah.
I hope that people can enjoy playing with it. And if you want to hear any more about it, you can follow me on Instagram, Rowan_Mangan, and please also sign up for my Wild Adventures newsletter.
Yeah, and watch Bewildered or listen to Bewildered the podcast if you feel like it. Hear more about my tail, and there's a tale about my tail. And sign up for the Sunday paper too. There are like 19 things you can do right here.
Yeah, that'll keep you going.
We're gonna go eat some peas. We love you. Thanks for coming, you guys.
Bye. Now, how do we stop a video that never started?